welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the Reading Habits book tag, I think is what it's called. Oh, yes. All things reading habits. Where do you read? How do you read? Do you like to read at all? I would hope so if you're here. Do you like to annotate your books? Do you not like to annotate your books? Can you eat and drink? That is a key question while you read your books. Who knows? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about my reading habits, and I would love to know the answers to the questions from you guys down below in the comments. So without further ado, let's hop right in. Okay, so question number 1. Do you have a particular place in your house that you like to read? I live in an apartment in the middle of Los Angeles, so I have 2 options. 1, the bedroom on the bed. 2, the living room on the couch. And I like to read in both places. Oftentimes in the mornings, I will wake up and go out into the living room and sit on the couch and read as I drink my coffee. It is one of my favorite times of day. And then in the evening, before I go to bed, I read in bed. So I read pretty much everywhere I can in my apartment, which is the couch or the bed. Someday I would love to have like a little book nook or like some sort of little corner in a living room where it feels like very library-esque, next to a window maybe, with some nice curtains. That's the dream. Someday, my friends, someday. Okay, so question number 2, bookmark or random piece of paper? So for this one, most of the time I prefer a bookmark if I can keep track of it. So in the past I have been so bad about keeping track of bookmarks. I lose them all the time until I finally got it into my head that, oh, if I have one place in my apartment where I can put my bookmarks, I will actually use them. Right now I am using just like a super cheap cardboard one, but I love the look of a cute little bookmark sticking out of a book. I actually recently procured some new bookmarks from Leonie at the Book Leo, and I am just so excited about them. Hopefully they will be coming in the mail soon. So if you guys haven't checked her out yet, I love her channel. I love all of her stuff. I'm a big fan of supporting artists. One of my really good friends is an artist as well, and I really love supporting small artist shops. So anyway, sidetrack. Yeah, I like to use bookmarks, but honestly, if I need to stop reading in the middle of whatever I'm doing and my bookmark isn't nearby, I will grab a tissue if I have to and use that. Oftentimes when I travel, I end up using like train tickets or boarding passes and things like that. I'm not really too picky, though I do think it's very cute when you use like a nice little bookmark and it can kind of just like poke out of your book. I love a cute bookmark. Okay, question number 3. Can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a certain chapter or after a certain amount of pages? So this is a question that I think is very interesting because when I was younger, I always felt like I had to like finish the chapter that I was on. And I always used to like read up until that chapter and I could not go on, very kind of like episodic reading. But honestly, as I've gotten older, I feel like a little bit more relaxed about my reading. So if I'm reading something that's like crazy exciting and like in the moment, I will just read it through and I won't be able to stop. Even if it is the end of a chapter or whatever, I'll just like read until I can chill out. But honestly, something that happens to me more often than not these days is I'll be reading before bed and then all of a sudden I'm just exhausted. I will sometimes just be reading and all of a sudden I'm like, ah, yes, it is time to sleep now. And at that point, I'll just stop. It's maybe a little bit crazy, but I always finish the paragraph at least. You know how sometimes they have those little sections and they'll have like a cute little design between sections in the middle of the page. I'll read until there, but honestly, stopping at the end of a chapter is not something that I do super often because I don't really feel like I need to. I can pick up the story and just go straight from where I was. Okay, question number 4. Do you eat for? Question number 4. Question number 4, do you eat or drink while you read? Do I eat or drink while I read? Yes, but not messy things. So I can drink while I read my book. I love drinking tea or wine or whatever, depending on what time of day it is. Like I said, I really like to drink my coffee in the morning when I read. When it comes to eating, I can't like eat a dinner and read at the same time. If it's something soupy or saucy, not gonna happen. It's gonna get all over me. It's gonna get all over the book. It's not gonna happen. But I do love the little reading snack, like some little crackers or popcorn or any sort of fruits, carrots, things like that. I do like being able to have something to kind of munch on, especially if it's like middle of the afternoon on a weekend and you want a little munchie. You can have it with a book. Great time. Yeah. Are there people out there that like really do not eat or drink at all when they read? Because I try not to get my book dirty, but like I can like drink tea and not get it all over my book. I don't know, guys. What's the deal with that? All right. Question number 5 is about multitasking. So can you watch TV and or listen to music while you read? So this is an interesting one for me. I don't understand people who can like watch TV while they read unless it is something that you can drown out. So like for me, every once in a while I'll be able to read if there's like a sports game going on or something. I went to a Big Ten school for college, and so I love football and things like that, but if it's something that's like a little bit less interesting to me, I can tune it out. That said though, I still find it pretty difficult to tune speaking out when I read. Like if I have people in my apartment and they're like chatting and whatever and I'm just chilling on the couch reading, I can't do it. It's really hard for me. The other day my sister came over in the morning and dropped by, and she and my boyfriend were talking, and I was in a really exciting part in Truly Devious actually, and I had to run into the other room so that I could finish it because I just like could not focus. Sometimes I will listen to music when I read. There's just like a classical reading playlist on Spotify that I really like. And then also there are like certain books that I read with certain music that makes it really nice. So I love classical music with sort of like mystical, magical, realism-y kind of books. Yeah, so basically I can tune out some kinds of TV, but I don't prefer to do it that way. If I'm gonna read with any noise, it would be maybe a little bit of like ambient classical music in the background, but most of the time I'm happy to just kind of read in silence. And like I said, I like to do that in the mornings, and it's just like a really nice way to wake up. I often wake up before my boyfriend, and so I'll just come out here on the couch and snuggle with my cat and read and drink coffee, and it's just the best. Question number 6 is one book at a time or several at once. And I have a very particular way that I like to do this. I like to have one physical book and one audiobook at the same time. Now, that said, I do have like separate books that I have to read for school, and those are textbooks like about machine learning and stuff, and so that I'm not counting in this. School stuff is separate in my mind. But reading for pleasure, for me, I like to have one audiobook. Most of the time I like to read my nonfiction books through audiobook because I feel like for me personally it's easier for me to take in very like academic information if it is orally, I guess is what you say. But I do like to listen to like a fiction audiobook every once in a while. Like I mentioned in my September wrap up, I listened to Daisy Jones and the Six on audiobook, and that was really, really great. So yeah, it just sort of depends. And then I like to have one hard copy book that I'm reading at the same time. And so most of the time that is some sort of fiction novel. The idea of having multiple fiction stories though that I have to follow and like have to choose which book to pick up, I just don't love that. Like I feel like I don't get through the book fast enough, and so instead of being able to finish a story and move on to the next one and really be in it and finish a story and move on to the next one, I don't like the idea of having to keep track of multiple stories in my mind and then like finish them all around the same time. It just feels very cluttered and busy, and I would rather be able to focus just on one at a time. Read at home or read everywhere? Well, I like to read everywhere. Cafes, parks, the beach, anything like that. I'm a really big fan. In the car, if you're doing an audiobook. I even actually was listening to an audiobook a few years ago, which is called, I I think it's called Born to Run, and I can't remember the author right now, but I will put his name up on the screen here and put the information down in the description for this book. But it was a great book about how our bodies are actually designed for running, like evolutionarily, and I thought it was super fascinating, and it's a little bit of sort of like a case study of this man's life. And I listened to that audiobook when I would go on runs, and it was so inspirational and so great, and it was just such a fun way to consume that. So yeah, I can really read anywhere, especially if I have an audiobook. Okay, question number 8 is reading out loud or silently in your head. Most of the time, I like to read silently in my head if it's my story. So I read books like for me, obviously, but then I also like to read cute like group books. When I was growing up, it was really popular in our family to read before bed and like have everybody read out loud. My sister and I had the Harry Potter books read to us that way when we were growing up, and that was like really big. I remember when my stepbrother was growing up, we used to read the How to Train Your Dragons book out loud, and my dad would come into our room and my stepbrother would come into our room, and all of us would just sit there and my dad would read it, and that was really nice. So I do feel like you can get like a cute little connection to people if you get to read out loud with them. My boyfriend and I are sort of like on and off reading The Hobbit out loud because he has never actually read that, and I love The Hobbit. So yeah, it's just a really nice way to connect with people as long as it's a story that's sort of conducive to that. I sometimes think that the way that I read books is a little bit different than I would read them if I was reading them out loud. It like slows things down a little bit. So as long as it's a book where you're not feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to read this all the time and I want to read it by myself, I want to read it whenever I have a second, then I think it's really nice to be able to have maybe one book that you pull out every night and read a chapter or 20 pages of out loud. I think it's cute. Okay, question number 9 is, do you read ahead or even skip pages? Okay guys, I don't like to skip pages, but I have a really bad habit sometimes of skipping like paragraphs if something stressful is happening. So like if there's something going on and I'm like, oh my god, are they gonna die? Or like, oh my god, are they gonna be together, or are they gonna not? Or like, what's gonna happen? Is there gonna be like, if there's some sort of dramatic thing that is being led up to, I have a really bad habit of skipping my eyes to like the next page or the end of the next page, or like the next time I see dialogue, to read what it is, to make sure that it's okay, and then I'll go back and read through it as long as I like check it first. I never like flip pages for that, but if I'm reading down the left side of the page and then I'm like, oh my gosh, so much description, I just want to know what happens, my eyes will just automatically go. So something that I took from Leonie over at the Book Leo is actually putting my hand on the page. So like if there's something going on like here and I'm reading and I can see dialogue over here, I will literally like put my hand on the page so that I can't skip over to it, because I know that my eyes will just like want to figure it out. But if I stop myself, then I actually get the full experience of whatever reveal is about to happen. So yeah, I don't always do it purposefully, but I do sometimes like skim through just to calm myself down if there's something dramatic going on. Yeah, let me know if you do anything like that. I don't know if I'm the only one that does that. Also, not gonna lie, if I'm reading something that I think is like super boring, I used to do this in high school. If I had like a classic that I was just not into or something, I will skim. I will definitely skim, especially if it's like descriptive stuff. Sometimes I don't care. Like Scarlet Letter, I am so sorry. I just didn't understand how you could go on and on and on about like a color for like 10 pages. Nathaniel Hawthorne, chill, dude. But yeah, maybe, I don't know what that opinion is. I don't know if that's a common opinion, but anyway. Okay, question number 10, breaking the spine or keeping it like new. Now, to be completely honest, I guess I never really noticed like, oh no, I've broken the spine in a book. It was just going through and reading it. So like, for example, I am in the middle of Night Circus right now. I keep grabbing it and it's starting to sort of break. I'm not the kind of person that will just open up a book and just like crack the spine right before I start reading. Like that does hurt me a little bit, because I'm like, no, I haven't gotten there yet. I don't want to wear it out prematurely. But I also think that like if you're reading a book and you're loving it, that you should be able to not be afraid to like open your book up all the way and actually have the experience of reading it. And the way that books feel after you've read them, especially if they go from like new to read through once, I love that feeling of like they're just a little bit loved, you know? It's just really nice. I hate the idea of trying to be so careful with things that they never look like they're used. Just in general, I think that if you have a connection to something, it should look like it's your book or your, you know, whatever, your item. Oh, something that I wanted to mention though, one thing that is a pet peeve of mine with books is, let's see, this is a perfect example. So, is when the covers start to do this. So if I lie them flat and the covers start to pull up, I don't think it does it on the back, but like there was one book that I was reading recently, I can't remember which one, and the front cover started doing this and also the back cover started doing this every time I would sit it down. That bothers me. I want it to stay with the rest of the is this weird? I want it to stay with the rest of the pages. It shouldn't stick up like this. It bothers me. Yeah, break the spine, sure, but keep the page touching the rest of the pages. What the heck? Who knew I had that preference? Not me. All right, and the last question, which is question number 11. Do you write in your books? I had never written in my books for myself, like my personal books that I didn't have to annotate for school or something like that, until maybe last year. Because I would just like zoom through them and I wasn't used to reading critically for myself. Now, that said, I have, especially this year, gotten into the habit of tabbing my books. So, what's a good example? Like this, Name of the Wind is a good example where I definitely like tabbed through. I like to put tabs just sort of wherever I find interesting passages or like nice quotes. I will tab books differently depending on what kind of a book it is. So for instance, this year, earlier in the year, I was reading The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I mentioned that in my most recent video about quarantine reads that were just like really, really great for me, and I adored that book. But honestly, I got like halfway through the book before I realized, oh, I really wish that I was like marking these quotes and tabbing these pages because these are things that I want to remember. And also, there's so much symbolism in all of her books. It was that way with Starless Sea, and now I'm reading The Night Circus, and it is the same way, and I just adore it. But I didn't realize until like halfway through the book, so I was like, oh, dang it. So now, going into Night Circus, I knew that just because of the style of Erin Morgenstern's writing, I was really gonna want to actually tab all of the pages, and like I've even been marking up in my book with a pen, like all of the exciting, like her descriptions are just beautiful. So it really depends on the book. Like if I'm reading kind of like a fluffy YA fantasy romance kind of a thing, I'm not gonna mark it up unless there's something like extremely problematic that I want to remember to talk about. I'm probably not gonna mark it up that much. But if it's something where I'm really gonna be like getting connected to the book and really critically reading it, then for sure I will tab it, I will mark it up, because it's my book, and I think it's really nice to be able to connect to your book, especially if you're enjoying the book, being able to mark it up because you know that that book will be with you for a while and you won't be just like giving it away and giving away all of, you know, this really, really marked up book. I think that's really nice. Plus, if you ever wanted to lend it to somebody, like a friend or a family member or something like that, they will kind of be able to like see what you thought about the book as they read through it. And I think that's kind of cute. I think it's a nice way to have almost like an unspoken book club, sort of. I guess that works. I guess that's, yeah, an unspoken book club. So that was a really long-winded answer to say that, yeah, I do mark up my books every once in a while, and I think it's kind of cute to just let it be your book. It's your thoughts, it's your experience. So mark it up. Who cares? It's your book. That's so nice, I'm cold. Okay, well, thanks so much for watching, you guys. Let me know if you guys have any recommendations or anything, and let me know, can you eat and drink while you read your books? I'm so curious about this question because I feel like it shouldn't be that messy, but also maybe it is, who knows? All right, anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like and subscribe down below. If you click the bell, then you'll know every time I post a video. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!